My name, my name is George Crane, and I've never done anything like this before. Um, I suppose it's like all of us are doing things for the first time. It's strange. Basically, it's hard to say things when you're not reading from a script or introducing yourself to people who you don't know, or even talking to people that might not even listen to you. So it is very strange for me, and I can only be myself. And we're in lockdown with this coronavirus, and I'm one of the fortunate few. I might have a little house, but we have a little garden. And I and my wife, we love each other very, very much. My children, they make sure we're okay. They call on us. My son was here yesterday, and he did the front garden and the back garden, and made it a pleasure to sit in. And so we don't have the hardships of a lot of the other families around us who are crowded into small houses and flats without any garden, without children, without anything like that. So I always say I'm very blessed, and I thank God for my wife and my children. And so all of us are in a position that we've never been in before. And so I make a podcast. I'm just looking up here, and my eyes are going to the controls. I'm not very good at this sort of thing. To tell you something about myself, okay? I was born in the UK. My father was in the Royal Marine Commandos. He served upon the Hermes aircraft carrier. It was sunk. My mother was from Cape Town, and they met and got married, and my sister was born, excuse me, my sister was born in South Africa, but I was born in England, in Oldham. I have a large family. My father is one of 13, but I don't know them. And my South African family, well, I know them a bit better, but I've lost contact, and some of them have died and everything. So my story basically is around my family, my wife, me, my children, and that sort of thing. And so everybody has a story, everybody. And listening to people's stories can be quite interesting. I went to South Africa after my father died. I was 16, and my mother returned to Cape Town, and I went with her. To me, that was a great adventure. Tonking on my guitar and going out there, meeting family I've never met before, and staying with family, and that was quite an experience in itself. I I paused the video to see what I'd done, and now I'm making a new video. You see what I mean? I've never done this before, and so I'm going to fling it a bit and hope that it comes out okay. And so I was ended up in Cape Town, and I don't want to give too much frills and the rest of it. At 18, I had an apprenticeship as an auto electrician on the Cape Town City buses, and they're all diesels. What is an auto electrician doing in a diesel place? I don't know. But anyway, it was a job. And at 18, I'd had enough. And I went to Rhodesia and I joined the British South Africa Police. And that was an education. That was the start of an intense part of my life that I will never forget. And I was attested in 1967, January, in Salisbury. And we swore allegiance to the Queen. And that is unusual because we were not recognized by the British government, anybody in Rhodesia, since the unilateral declaration, you see what I mean? I'm getting old, of independence. And so I swore allegiance to the Queen, of which we were very honourable. And so I became part of a tradition of law and order which started through Cecil Rhodes. What a as you go through the history of Cecil Rhodes and what he did and what he was and what he there are twists and turns in life, that is for sure. And some things start off not so good and end up very good, and some things start off very good and end up not so good. And this is life. And so in the police force, I learned a lot of things, and things were thrust upon me which I didn't quite understand. I was rosy-cheeked from the UK, 18, 19, and doing things I never dreamt I would do. For instance, I'm driving a short-wheeled Land Rover to the little village, and there is bush on both sides of the road. And as I'm driving down, the next thing, this guy in shorts and a shirt, prison issue, you know, like the cartoons. he dashed across right in front of me, from the bush, across the road into the bush. I'd never seen that before, and I'm a policeman. I got back to the camp, and I said to the member in charge, an inspector, his name, well, I won't say it. And I said, "Sir, I've seen a prisoner and he's escaped." And he looked at me and laughed and said, "No, that's Shorty. I sent him for some cigarettes." And so it was a learning curve, and things happen there which is so unusual. One time I'm sitting on radio duties, you know, with earphones on and speaking to Bulawayo, because we're in the bush. I'm at a place called Cholocho, which means the head of the elephant, and it is out in the gumos, in the sticks. It's in the bush. Is there animals? Oh yes. Anyway, not wandering through the town. No, they tend to stay clear of people. And there was a little village, a little town, tiny little town, and a government experimental town there, a farm, and so I was stationed at this place at Cholocho. The next town to it was Nyamatlovu, the body of the elephant. Yes, it's all very kind and romantic in a way. And so things happened, and one day I'm sitting there with the headphones on and talking to Bulawayo Police Headquarters. You know, I remember ZDF3. I think it was, our call was 369 or something like that, or 317. And Bulawayo would say, "Yes, come on." And the next thing, I would take dictation and touch type on a typewriter, which the police had taught me how to do in their college. When you join, you go to a police academy type of thing, and they teach you law and order and all that sort of. So it was all very different for me. And the sergeant came in. He said, "Excuse me, sir, you better come outside and see this." I got up I went outside, and there was a pile of prisoners there, all standing there, very solemn looking and serious. And I said, "What's this, Sarge?" And he said, "Well, they're complaining, sir. The prison guard who is guarding them is fast asleep." I said, "Oh, right." So I went into the memory in charge's office. I said, "Sir, you better come and see this." And he came out, and Beckenpilo, the sergeant, he repeated. And so we all marched down into the grounds, which was quite substantial. It was like a park. And so under the tree was a prison warden or an officer, whatever. And he was fast asleep with his shotgun next to him. And I always remember his name was Moffat. I can't forget him. And the memory in charge kicked him on the feet. And as he opened his eyes, he saw the memory in charge. He jumped up and saluted him, which was not required. And I always remember the memory in charge saying to him, you're asleep. You're on duty and you're asleep." "No, sir," said Moffat. "No, sir." And at this stage, all the prisoners were smiling. They got him into trouble. And so this is the sort of thing. There was a humorous time and also serious times. I was on patrol for 2 weeks, Land Rover, 44, Drummer petrol. My little dog, a little baby Alsatian, keep me company. My sergeant, not sergeant, it was a constable, I can't remember his name. And what transpired was this. In the evening, we saw these two lights in the distance, and it was obvious that they were coming towards us. And as it got closer, the lights got bigger, and I am staring at this lot. And it turned out to be a bus. And on this bus, the driver, through the bush telegraph, knew exactly where we were, had brought a guy who had been knifed and disemboweled, and he was still alive. And so he came to where my little tent was. And so I tried to help him. I put some form of bandage around his tummy to hold his tummy in. I put him in the Land Rover, and I took him to a clinic. It must have been about 160, 170 miles away. We were very far out in the bush. And my constable took his bicycle off the roof, and he went after the accused, the one who did it. Well, I got him to the clinic. The clinic had a little ambulance, and they ran, I think it was about 80 odd miles to Bulawell. And he was saved. His life was saved. But a few days later, I can't remember exactly, but in comes my constable with his bicycle, with the accused handcuffed to his bicycle. He got his men. Oh, that was so... That was a story and a half, really. That is a true one. And so we were thrown into various things. And I remember the member in charge coming in and saying, "Peel Crane, I'm not here tomorrow, and the regional magistrate will be here. You are taking court." Why did he pick on me? Because my number was lower than the next guy. We were both from the same squad, but it went by numbers. Oh my goodness, whether I was better or not, it didn't matter. My number was lower, so I was now the prosecutor for the day. Oh my goodness. Anyway, I did as I was told. What was my response? Yes, sir. And he said, don't worry, I've told the magistrate that you've never done this before, and he will help you. Yes, sir. Thank you. And so the next day came, and I didn't know what to expect. I'd never done anything like this. I just had my little law and order instructions and study of the law and that. And so I knew about leading witnesses and things like that, but you forget. And so I start talking about this one prisoner, and the magistrate says, P.O. Crane, you are now leading the witness. You mustn't do that. Oh, and it was like being in one of these films from Hollywood with the prosecutor, Matlock or whoever, rephrasing his questions. Only, but I didn't know what I was doing. And one of the cases I came up was one that I arrested. And this guy had basically got drunk and assaulted his mother-in-law. They like to drink, and so there can be a little bit of violence. But the magistrate was not impressed. He was not impressed. And so he was given cuts and I think about 4 weeks in prison, something like that. And it was, the cuts is birching. You get six are the best. Well, I've never experienced that before. And because of circumstances, on the day that he was receiving his punishment, I happened to be on duty. So I had to be the witness. Oh my goodness, I didn't like this. This is not for me. But I have no choice. Yes, sir. And so I was there, and they had the local doctor was there, and this prison officer, a huge fellow, huge, and he had several sticks, canes. And so he took one, and this prisoner was put over like a horse type jumping thing, you know what they use in athletics, something like that. And he was handcuffed to it in a bent position, and he was caned on his bare bottom. My goodness, that was terrible. And he received 6. By the 3rd stroke, he was peeing himself. It wasn't nice. It's something I don't want to ever see again in my life. It's horrible. Anyway, he never hit his mother-in-law again. And the crime was different. It was different. There were some very, very bad people. There were some people that just went wrong. Just like in the UK, I would imagine. And I was doing this rape case, and I said to the accused, and I had to go out and draw a plan where incident happened, and we used to put a pen in the sky and use it on our watch and do it 12 o'clock, and then we knew exactly where the north was, where the shadow fell. We would know north is between that and the hour. And so I would draw a plan saying which is north, and I would say to the accused and the complainant were in the same Land Rover with me. We all went together. Everybody knew everybody, sort of thing. I didn't know them, but they knew each other and their families. And we go to the area where their home is. And I said to you, did you rape this woman? Yes, bossy. Why? Oh, I was full of chwala. I was drunk. And the complainant, this woman, and she was a big woman. She said, that is right. Yes, yes. And so this was the type of thing. I've handled different types of crimes. I've handled murder. I've handled all sorts of things. I've worked with the children's welfare. And when I went out on patrol, I used to write reports on community well-being. And I used to visit the headmen, the chiefs, schools, missions, everything, and even visit the expats to make sure everything was okay. And there were many stories I could tell you about those too. But that gives you an idea of the British South Africa Police. And so I'm going to put this on pause now. That means I've got to start it again, because as soon as I press the pause button, it starts a new time. Maybe not, because I played the last video to see how I'm doing. Yes. So for me, this is the first time. And I'm 72, and I've had one heck of a life. And so I'm going to explain it, because this is not my story as such. My story starts at 69. And so this is just to give you a little bit of who I am and where I'm coming from. And so I'm going to stop this video. I learned yesterday how to join the recordings together. Oh, I said, thank goodness for that. So the first time I tried to do it, I had to go. Oh, it was a mess. When I was pressing the pause button, I didn't pause it. I did the opposite. I was recording. And when I pressed the pause button, when I came back, I stopped it. And so all you saw was my backside going out the door and coming back in again and that sort of thing. Well, I hope I've learned a bit of a lesson since then. I phoned my son up who I couldn't get my mic to work. And he had to help me on the phone because he can't come in because of the isolation. And so this has been, it's like being in court all over again, not knowing what you're doing, but making the best of what you got. And that is life. You make the best of what you've got. Don't complain. Just do it right, to the best of your ability. And I'm going to pause now, and I'm sure it's going to cut off.